Okay, so we're diving deep today into a mystery that's been around for centuries.
Oh, yeah, a real head-scratcher.
It is the disappearance of Theodosia Burr Alston.
Back in December 1812.
December 1812. We're talking over 200 years ago.
It's one of those stories that just grabs you and it just won't let go.
And it's a story that's got everything right. You've got a famous father.
A controversial father, some might say.
Very controversial. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
A lost ship at sea.
And pirates.
Oh, yes. Always got to have pirates.
Maybe even a possible ghost story or two.
Oh, we love a good ghost story.
Exactly.
So to really unpack this mystery, we've got to start with Theodosia herself.
We do. She's a fascinating figure in her own right.
Daughter of Aaron Burr, who, as many people will know,
was the Vice President of the United States?
Vice President to Thomas Jefferson, no less.
From 1801 to 1805.
Yeah. So really right at the beginning of the country.
A pivotal moment in American history.
And Theodosia, she was known for her intelligence.
Her wit, her charm.
A real socialite.
Very much a part of the elite circles of the time.
But also a strong advocate for education, particularly for women.
Which was pretty forward-thinking for the early 1800s.
It was. You don't hear about that a lot from back then.
No, you don't. And her relationship with her father was incredibly close.
They wrote letters constantly.
Volumes and volumes of correspondence have survived.
And they show a real intellectual bond.
They discuss politics, literature, philosophy.
And through it all, Theodosia, she was fiercely loyal to her father.
Through thick and thin.
Which is important, because Aaron Burr, he was a controversial figure, to say the least.
That's putting it mildly.
He was involved in one of the most famous duels in American history.
With Alexander Hamilton.
Which, of course, ended tragically.
A turning point in Burr's life, no question.
He was later tried for treason.
For allegedly plotting to create his own independent empire in the West.
Yeah, the details are murky.
There's still debate about exactly what Burr was up to.
But his reputation was definitely tarnished.
He ended up going into exile in Europe for several years.
And Theodosia, she supported him through all of it.
Emotionally and even financially.
So there's always been that question in the back of people's minds.
Did Burr's past enemies somehow play a role in Theodosia's disappearance?
We'll get into the theories later, but it's definitely something to keep in mind.
It adds another layer to the mystery.
So before Theodosia vanished, she had been through a really difficult period in her life.
Yeah, the years leading up to 1812 were filled with personal tragedy for her.
She had health problems after the birth of her son,
which left her weak and vulnerable for quite some time.
Her father's disgrace led to social isolation.
They were shunned by many of their former friends and associates.
And then the worst blow of all.
The death of her young son.
He was only 10 years old.
It happened just a few months before Theodosia decided to sail to New York.
So she was grieving deeply.
Understandably.
And she was longing to see her father,
who had just returned from Europe after years in exile.
So in December of 1812, Theodosia set sail from Charleston, South Carolina.
Headed for New York City.
On a schooner called the Patriot.
And this is where the story takes a truly mysterious turn.
Because the Patriot, it just vanished.
Without a trace.
So let's talk about this ship for a minute.
The Patriot, what do we actually know about it?
Well, it was a schooner, originally a pilot boat.
Which means it was designed to be fast and maneuverable.
Perfect for navigating coastal waters and harbors.
And there's some speculation that the Patriot may have also been used as a privateer.
Which, for those who don't know,
privateers were privately owned ships that were authorized by the government to attack enemy vessels during wartime.
Basically legalized pirates.
In a sense, yeah, they were given a letter of marque, which gave them permission to seize enemy ships in their cargo.
And the War of 1812 was going on at the time.
So there was definitely a lot of privateering activity happening.
And if the Patriot had been a privateer, that might explain why it was so well armed.
Why it might have been carrying valuable goods.
Which would have made it a tempting target.
For pirates or even enemy ships.
And there's another interesting detail about the Patriot.
It had been refitted before Theodosia's voyage.
To make it look less like a privateer.
Which is kind of strange when you think about it.
It's like they were trying to fly under the radar.
Maybe they were carrying something they didn't want anyone to know about?
Or maybe they were trying to avoid attracting unwanted attention?
From pirates or from the British Navy?
It's all very mysterious.
It certainly is.
So we've got Theodosia Burr Alston.
A grieving daughter, desperate to see her father.
Sailing on a ship with a shadowy past.
And then, poof.
Gone.
Vanished into thin air.
So what happened?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Over the years, there have been many theories.
Some more plausible than others.
So let's dive into those.
Let's start with the one that always seems to capture people's imaginations.
Pirates.
Of course.
It's a classic tale.
And there was definitely a lot of pirate activity in the waters off the Carolina coast in the early 1800s.
Especially in an area known as the Outer Banks,
Particularly around Nag's Head.
where a group of pirates known as the Banker Pirates operated.
They were notorious for luring ships aground
By using false lights.
and then plundering them and killing everyone on board.
Pretty gruesome stuff.
It was a brutal time.
So the theory is that the Patriot was lured into a trap by the Banker Pirates.
And Theodosia and everyone else on board were murdered.
It's certainly a possibility.
And there is some evidence that lends credence to this theory.
Like what?
Well, there are a few accounts of pirates claiming to have been involved in the attack on the Patriot.
But those are just stories, right?
Well, some of them are more than just stories.
Okay, I'm listening.
There's the story of Jean Lafitte.
The famous pirate of New Orleans.
Some people believe he was connected to the Banker Pirates.
And there's a story that Lafitte confessed on his deathbed to having captured the Patriot.
And having taken Theodosia prisoner.
But there's no real proof of that, is there?
No, not really. It's more of a legend.
Okay, what else?
Well, there's also the story of Benjamin F. Burdick.
Who was he?
He was a man who claimed to have been part of the pirate crew that captured the Patriot.
And he also made a deathbed confession?
He did in 1873.
What did he say?
He claimed that he was one of the pirates who boarded the Patriot, and that he saw Theodosia with his own eyes.
So he actually claimed to have seen her.
He did. He said she was a beautiful and dignified woman, and that she faced her death with courage.
That's a pretty vivid account.
It is, but again, it's a story that's been passed down through generations.
It's hard to know what's true and what's been embellished.
Exactly.
But it does add to the intrigue.
It certainly does.
Are there any other pirate stories?
Well, there's one more that's pretty interesting.
Okay, tell me.
It involves a portrait.
A portrait?
Yes. In the late 1800s, a doctor named William G. Poole, he was treating a patient in Nag's Head, North Carolina.
Which is right in the heart of Banker pirate territory.
Exactly. And while he was there, he noticed a portrait hanging on the wall.
And he thought it looked like Theodosia.
He thought it bore a striking resemblance to the descriptions he had heard of her.
So what happened to the portrait?
Well, Dr. Poole, he was fascinated by it. And he tried to track down Theodosia's family to see if they could authenticate it.
Did he have any luck?
He did. Eventually, he got in touch with some of Theodosia's descendants, and some of them believed that the portrait could indeed be of her.
But there is no conclusive proof.
No, unfortunately not.
So where is this portrait now?
It's currently at Yale University at the Lewis Walpole Library.
So if anyone wants to go see it, they can.
They can. It's part of their collection.
So that's the pirate theory.
But it's not the only one.
What are some of the other explanations?
Well, another possibility is that the Patriot simply sank in a storm.
The Carolina coast can be pretty treacherous.
It is. There are a lot of shoals and sandbars, and the weather can be very unpredictable.
And there were reports of severe storms in the area around the time the Patriot disappeared.
So it's entirely possible that the ship was caught in a storm and went down.
And if that happened, there's a good chance that no one would have survived.
Especially in those days, without modern life-saving equipment.
That's a sad thought.
It is, but it's a realistic possibility.
What about other theories?
Well, there's also the possibility that the Patriot was captured by the British Navy.
The War of 1812 was still going on.
Exactly, and the British were blockading the American coast. So it's conceivable that the Patriot was intercepted and captured.
But wouldn't there be records of that?
You would think so, but no records have ever been found.
So it's another mystery within a mystery.
Exactly.
Are there any other theories?
Well, some people have suggested that Theodosia might have faked her own death.
Why would she do that?
Maybe she was tired of her life. Maybe she was running from something or someone.
But there's no evidence of that, is there?
No, none whatsoever.
Well, it's probably just a wild speculation.
Probably.
It seems like we're no closer to solving this mystery.
It's true. The fate of Theodosia Burr Alston remains one of the most enduring enigmas in American history.
And it's a story that continues to fascinate people to this day.
It's a story that has it all. Drama, mystery, tragedy.
And even a touch of the supernatural.
Exactly. It's a story that speaks to our deepest fears and our most enduring hopes.
The hope that even in the face of the unknown,
there's always a chance that the truth will eventually be revealed.
Maybe someday new evidence will come to light.
That will finally solve the mystery of Theodosia Burr Alston.
And until then,
the speculation will continue.
And the legend will live on.
So what do you think happened to Theodosia?
I honestly don't know.
It's a tough one.
I go back and forth between the pirates and the storm.
Those are the two most likely scenarios, in my opinion.
But there's just not enough evidence to say for sure.
And that's part of what makes this story so compelling.
It keeps us guessing.
It forces us to use our imaginations.
And it reminds us that even in this age of information,
there are still some mysteries that may never be solved.
But that doesn't mean we should stop searching for answers.
Absolutely not. The search for truth is always worthwhile.
Even if it takes us down some unexpected paths.
Who knows, maybe someday.
We'll finally know what happened to Theodosia Burr Alston.
I hope so.
Me too. Until then, we can keep exploring the possibilities.
And keep the legend alive.
And keep wondering about that mysterious portrait.
The one that may or may not be of Theodosia.
Hanging on the wall at Yale.
A silent sentinel.
Guarding the secrets of the past.
The past is never truly past, is it?
Not when it comes to stories like this.
Stories that refuse to be forgotten.
And that continue to haunt us.
Long after the events themselves have faded into history.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive
into the mystery of Theodosia Burr Alston.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey.
And we hope it's inspired you to do some digging of your own.
There's still so much we don't know about this story.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the truth.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
And keep wondering.
About the mysteries that surround us.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.